Tower here.
With
The Great Assassin BlackStar.
and
Vandal.
SirFapsALot.
Or Gamer Josh White 97.
Right, white-handed.
This is
Anyway,
one.
today we are reading The Demon Butcher of Palos Park, uploaded on April 9th, 2014 to the Creepypasta website.
Pretty sure they can read that. It's on the screen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can too.
It's on there.
But I think that part is covered up with the Vandal's face. Yeah, the little jigsaw. Anyway, so let us begin.
Go on the reading.
In my hometown, we have a legend. In the 1890s, a man called Butcher, that was me by the way, this was back when people got their name from their trades, had a butcher shop that was doing well. From what I can tell, he was a large man. My God. He was a large man, but cowardly at heart. Wow. He was well respected and well liked. He always did good business, if you know what I mean. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But he wasn't a person you'd look twice at. Then the Depression hit. Livestock was harder to come by, and many other shops were going out of business, mainly his condom shop. Butcher had good connections, and he was getting by. But he had to raise prices. Much to the annoyance of his customers, he was losing business.
One day, a shipment of beef came in. Butcher told his apprentice to carry the load to the basement meat locker. The boy followed his orders, but like most kids, he tried to rush and took too much down at once. The boy tripped up the stairs and broke his neck at the bottom. He died, I assume, instantly. Butcher heard the noise and soon found the body. The law was pretty scary in these times. Death sentences were still a viable option, and Butcher thought this looked like murder. He could die because of this accident. They might kill him. He panicked and hid the body in his meat freezer.
BlackStar.
Is it BlackStar?
Right here.
Right where?
Right here.
When the boy's parents came, he lied. When the boy's father called the police and got investigated, Butcher lied harder.
The police let him go for the time being, but Butcher was terrified. Hiding the body made what could have been an accident look like a real murder. He could lose everything he could. He could die. What? He had to get rid of the body. That's when he had an idea. He was a butcher. If he could cut the body up and sell them as meat, who would be the wiser? No one. That's who. No one. So in the dead of the night, he took his knife to the body and wrapped it like any other cut of meat. The next day, oh my God. The next day, he sold it with a nervous smile and no one questioned it. Sounds tasty.
In fact, people seem to like it. I suppose, compared to the livestock of the time, human meat was clean and healthy. People liked it so much that they started asking for more. Now Butcher was a nervous man. Though he was nearly out of hot water, he couldn't help but think that people would wonder why his prime meat wasn't as good as this one batch. If they kept asking, if they kept digging, they would make the connection. They would find out his crime. It was definitely a crime now, he could deny that. But no. Butcher wouldn't get caught. He'd just have to find more meat.
He started with hobos. He wouldn't offer them food and lure them to his shop, then he'd kill them. I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that he had gone completely insane. As far as Butcher was concerned, not one was going to miss the vagabonds, so it wasn't much of a crime. To make matters worse, real beef was getting even harder to come by. He needed these people or he would go out of business. It was necessary.
But Butcher's luck seemed against him. The rail riders realized that Palos Park wasn't a safe place to get off, and they stopped coming. Butcher was again out of meat. When the first child disappeared, people were worried, but no one thought there could be a killer among them. When more disappeared, someone remembered who went missing first, Butcher's apprentice. And wasn't it odd how he still had meat when everyone else was out of business? And wasn't it odd the way homeless men used to wander into a store and never come out? And wasn't it strange the way he would sometimes stare at the children who entered his store? Oh my God, pedophile.
Possible.
Nothing makes an angrier mob form faster than a child killer, meaning pedophile, right? This man had taken people, taken children, and dissected them like cattle. He had turned the town into cannibals. Oh God, had parents unknowingly eaten their own children? How many people had died for this man's business? I didn't.
Delicious.
I'm okay with it. How many people had they eaten? The proof was there on the hooks when they broke into his shop. A child skinned and hanging. No one could tell who it was. but they could only assume that it was the child who went missing the most recently. This man didn't leave survivors. This man didn't hesitate to kill them.
Butcher was afraid, perhaps more afraid than he had ever been. They were gathering outside his house now with knives and axes and fire. Butcher stayed away from the windows, even as they were broken by bricks and pavement stones. Butcher stayed near the wall and closed his eyes. There was a pounding on the front door. Then there was a sickening crack as it broke.
The people pulled him out onto the yard. Butcher screamed. Everyone came out at once. The knives bit his skin. The hammers broke his bones, and the police stood back and watched as the citizens punished him. Everything happened quickly, but to Butcher, it must have been a lifetime. Finally, they ended him with a swift axe to the neck, decapitating him before he could close his eyes for the last time. The butcher had been butchered.
This is a true story. I know. Palos Park had its own little Sweeney Todd. Great movie, by the way. Great story. What a ripoff. But you can easily verify my story with a web search. We should try that out later.
Sure.
I'll admit that as a longtime resident of this town, I may have been embellished the story a bit, but all the facts are there. Heck, I even threw in that think about it from the killer's perspective Johnny likes so much. Okay, I'll admit, I'm the one who's a bit weird about psychology, but I guess I should explain. I'm writing this because of Johnny. I'm not sure I really want to believe that these things are connected, but there is such a thing as too many coincidences. Quinky-dinks. I tend to be pretty skeptical, but I know when something isn't right. I know when I need to speak out.
Johnny's missing, and the butcher is responsible. There's this game we play in town, Find the Head. I suppose the name's kind of self-explanatory. When they caught Butcher's head, they buried it at Indian Hill. Legend says they kept his body separate so he wouldn't be able to rise from the grave and continue his massacre. The problem being, Butcher wanted his head back. Everybody pretty much knew this was a lame add-on to make it seem the story is still going, even though Butcher died 200 years ago. Something to make kids behave or scare tourists. But as brave 16-year-olds, we knew better.
Wait, hold on. It just said 200 years ago. At the beginning it said 1890s. Plot hole.
Yeah.
Continue.
On days when the internet signal was particularly bad, we were all bored. We would go up to Indian Hill and start digging. Most of the time our efforts were useless. We half expected that the skull had already been found and moved elsewhere, but then Johnny won the game. He was digging at the bottom of the hill by a half-dead pine tree when he uncovered it.
He called us over immediately. He needed help uncovering it, and at first it just looked like a yellow rock. But it was cool to the touch and seemed somewhat softer and lighter than a real rock. Slowly, we uncovered the shape of the skull, and some of my classmates drew back in fear. No one ever expected to really find it.
It was smaller than I had expected and darker in color. I was so used to the white bones I saw on TV that this dark yellow dirt encrusted thing seemed even more real to me. The skull was cracked in many places. I noticed the stained brown and green in places. Did he shit on his head?
Yes.
The textures was rough and porous from the years that had eaten away at it. I was fascinated by it. So was Johnny. After 10 minutes of arguing, our group decided that rather than calling police or reburying it, Johnny should decide what to do with it, because he was the one who found it. I remember the strange look he got when he got a hold of the skull again. His cheeks were pale, but his eyes shone brightly. "I'm keeping it," he finally answered. He called me at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day. I thought it was going to be something dumb, but instead, I got a panicked whisper. "I haven't slept. Someone's been slicing out my windowsill with a cleaver at night. I think it's the butcher." I laughed tiredly. I could tell from his voice that he wasn't messing with me. He was definitely terrified, but, another add-on to the myth was that you could sometimes hear the butcher's cleaver ringing against his gravestone. As a result, cleavers are a popular part of Halloween decorations and pranks in our neighborhood. So I just tried to shrug it off. It was possibly just Mike or something playing a trick. Johnny paused for a long moment. "Yeah, maybe."
He sounded a little relieved, like he hadn't thought of that, but to tell the truth, I wasn't all that convinced myself. Someone beating the side of your house with a cleaver wasn't what I'd call a funny joke. But some people are stupid like that. It was probably just a coincidence that Johnny found the skull the same day. Or even more likely, one of the kids who was with us was being mean. It had to be a prank, though. There's no such thing as ghosts. And if there were, they wouldn't be able to wield butcher knives. At least, That's what I tried to tell myself. Then the clear incident happened again the next night, and again the night after that. Johnny was really panicking now. The police had been called twice, but they hadn't found a thing. No footprints, no fingerprints, no cigarette butts or food wrappers, just the cleaver marks. Why is he just waiting out there? He told me anxiously the fourth day. Why doesn't he just attack? If he attacks, I can at least fight back. If he attacks, at least he'll be over. But all he's doing is break my windowsill and steal my sleep.
But why? Johnny said he was exasperated. If he's afraid of my dad,
You missed a paragraph.
I don't care.
I don't know. I couldn't deny that it was weird.
Here you go,
I was worried. Maybe they don't want to attack while your dad's home.
Go to sleep.
Why? Johnny said exasperated. If he's afraid of my dad, why does he come at all? If Dad weren't such a heavy sleeper, he could have been out with a shotgun by now. Wouldn't it be easier to just wait until my dad is out and terrorize me then? Why does he have to do this to me? I shrugged again, still having no answers, but thinking about something else anyway. You're staying at my house tonight. Johnny continued pacing as though he hadn't heard me. And why me? What did I do to deserve this? I mean, it can't be a coincidence that we found a human skull today. He first showed up, but come on. My research says the skull's over 200 years old. It's not like we discovered a recent murder. None of you guys are getting stalked. Johnny, I tried to interrupt. He was working himself into a frenzy. I needed to calm him down. Johnny.
I'm too young to die. I only turned 16 last month, and suddenly the Demon Butcher at Palos is coming after me?
You're 17.
That's true, as of last Tuesday. How is that fair? I don't even have a license yet. That's true, I don't. What kind of freak does stuff like that? Get your arm off me before I stab you. I mean, I know you get... I will freaking kill you. In your sleep, slowly admit... No, I'm just kidding, I won't. I know you get the whole he's a coward thing in your weird psychoanalysis. But how do you know? He lived hundreds of years ago, and now he's back. It isn't fair that some ghost murder monster can just rise from the grave and attack me for no reason. All I did was find his skull. It's not like he needs it anymore. Oh, well, you could give it back to his corpse, but, you know. Johnny, I said loud enough that my friend flinched. You're staying here tonight. If some guy's after you, it's better you're not in a place where he can find you. Really? He seemed shocked by the offer. I guess he thought I'd be too afraid of attracting trouble. But I was better than that. Friends came first.
Girlfriends came first.
That's true. Really, I confirmed. Some tension eased from the shoulders. Besides, you look like you need some proper sleep. Slip. Cleavage. That'll work too. I never dreamed that the man, the human copycat, would find my house too. I was taking a risk, but I didn't really believe he would come. Our day went on as normal. It's almost over. I got permission from my dad for Johnny to stay over. We messed around. It's 3:13. And we messed around until midnight. Woo, messed around, gayness. My bed was right next to the window, and Johnny slept at the floor, and the floor, slept and the floor beside it. That logic. The moment he closed his eyes, he was out, and I thought it was funny. I, too, quickly fell asleep. That'll work, too. Alright, guys, so this is part 1, ending, adios, you know, blah, 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 blah. Read on if you want to. All you can see is, like, right there, so it doesn't matter. Adios,
all I see
folks.
is his face.
Bye from BlackStar.
No, they can see more than just his face.
Offical and Taro, signing off.
Xeros.
Vandal will return.
BlackStar is leaving. So it's SirFapsALot. Adios, folks. See you next time.